Good morning, and welcome to the Todd County Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 21st. The time is 9 a.m. All commissioners are present, along with the auditor, treasurer, and the coordinator. We will stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, Madam Chair.
Hearing no amendments to the agenda, is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Motion by Newman, is there a second? Second by Kneisel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Denise?
Potential consent items today are the meeting minute approval for December 10th, 2021. Appoint social worker Alyssa Etzler, start date to be determined. Approve 2022 tobacco licenses. 3.2 malt liquor license for Don and Dave's store. And a gambling permit for Midwest Outdoors Unlimited Prairie Partners chapter.
Okay, is there a motion for the consent items?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all approve,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, and carries.
The auditor treasurer items today are approve the commissioner warrants. Background is sent for review. The recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $144,725.05.
Okay, is there a motion for the commissioner warrants? Motion by Kneisel, a second.
Second.
Second, Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Kneisel? Yes. Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
The next item is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background was sent for a review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling the amount of $163,844.29.
Is there a motion for the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
The next item is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $69,623.78.
Is there a motion for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
The next item is the 2021 election budget carryover. Background: in effort to maintain steady level levy request within the election department from year to year, there exists $15,000 within the 2021 budget intended to be brought forward in 2022 for the larger state election cycle expenses. Options are to approve this budget carryover rollover or do not approve it. The recommendation is to approve the 2021 election budget carryover per the attached budget request form detailed in the amount of $15,000.
Is there a motion for the 2021 election budget carryover?
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second? Second, Kneisel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Next thing is the Hands of Hope Resource Center lease renewal. The lease agreement with the Hands of Hope Resource Center for 2021 is set to expire on December 31st, 2021. The Hands of Hope Resource Center has expressed interest in renewing the lease agreement for 2022 for space utilized in the Main Street Government Center with a 2% increase for the rental terms. Your options are to approve the agreement, do not approve it, or renew it with different terms. The recommendation is to remove the Hands of Hope Resource Lease Agreement for January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022.
Okay, is there a motion for Hands of Hope Resource Center lease renewal? Motion by Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
The repurchase of tax forfeited property, Chatton D. Bolton has 4 parcels that tax forfeited to the state of Minnesota for non-payment of property taxes on July 9th of 2021. Chatton D. Bolton is asking to repurchase these 4 parcels. The recommendation is to approve the application for repurchase of tax forfeited parcels listed 19,968, 19,969, 19,970, and 19,971.
Okay, is there a motion for the repurchase of tax forfeited property?
Could you scroll up, so
Oh,
how much
sure.
are we, what is the purchase amount?
I don't know that it's listed on here.
3,000.
No, she did not include that. He just has to repurchase it, and then it's the amount of back taxes, and any administrative fees, and then he pays like the state deed and
Okay,
stuff.
that's what I want to know.
Yes, he has to pay all the fees that go
Okay.
with it. Mhm. Sorry, that was not on there. I'll make sure that's on there next time.
Is there a motion for the repurchase of the tax forfeited property?
So moved. Oops.
Okay, motion Erickson, second Kneisel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Madam Chair, do we gotta do a roll call on that?
Oh, yes, it was on, I'm sorry.
That was
It
on there.
this.
I'm sorry, I missed
Oh,
that.
I guess it is right here. I didn't see that they had it included. So let's go back. I'm sorry. It says that his repurchase is going to be $3,352.95. So that's the question for Commissioner Kircher, and the roll call is right here. So yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So we'll go back to roll call, and it was Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel, Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
yes.
Have those that very often, so. So the next item then is the, oh, I was on it, sorry. Transfer of funds for County Ditch 18. Again, background, December 28th, 2017, the County Board of Commissioners approved the advance of $300,000 from the general fund to the ditch fund for the County Ditch 18 project. On September 4th, 2018, the County Board approved the 10-year repayment terms of the special assessment for the ditch project. Each year, until fully repaid, the amount of principal funds collected along with the amount of interest collected is transferred from the ditch fund as partial repayment back to the general fund. And recommendation is to approve the attached resolution authorizing the transfer of funds for a partial repayment of the County Ditch 18 loan. And the financial implication is $23,365.19, and it is budgeted. That's the amount that will be rolling from ditch into the general fund as a repayment.
Okay, is there a motion for the transfer of funds from the County Ditch 18 for partial repayment?
Okay, a question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Is this, it's collected on their taxes, right?
Yeah.
So is that paid already, that amount?
That's correct.
So that's the
what
amount
we've
they've
collected and
paid?
settled. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Thank you.
You bet.
I will ask for a motion for the transfer of funds for County Ditch 18, partial payment.
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Administration?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I have a number of board actions and resolutions this morning to establish the 2022 elected official salaries. And when setting these salaries, the Minnesota state statute states that you set these based on duties and responsibilities, performance, experience and qualifications, and data collected from other counties can be taken into consideration. So the first one that I have to present
Chris,
is...
can I ask you a question?
Yep.
As I was just reading through, Linda gave us a sheet up here that we had, and on there, I thought it was really good. I believe it's the second paragraph, where she asked about requesting the 5%, and the union contracts, they received the 2 or 2.5, and then the 3% step that the electeds do not get. And that's correct, right?
That is correct. For, for staff who are still in the process of stepping through their grade, that would be a 3% increase, and elected officials receive whatever the board
Okay, and
sets.
just for clarification, how many steps are there?
There are 9.
9. So if you once been in your position for 9 years, you would not receive a step, correct?
Potentially, yes.
Okay. I just thought it was very good notation that she made there.
Yep, thank
If I
you.
may
Yeah.
follow up on that question, do the appointed receive steps?
Yes, they do.
Mhm.
So it's just the elected ones that do not?
Because you set them. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so Madam Chair, the first one that I will be presenting is to establish the 2022 County Commissioner's salary. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners is responsible for setting compensation of county employees, elected officials, appointed officials, and board members, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners considered the duties and responsibilities of each individual position, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners considered the salaries of elected officials in other comparable counties. And now therefore be it resolved that the Todd County Board of Commissioners approve setting the county commissioner's salary at plus an $1,800 supplemental pay for board chair and a $1,200 supplemental pay for board vice chair in 2022. I have provided each of you with the wage survey. The current salary of the Todd County Commissioners is $32,579, and you have a list of percentages broken down from 1% to 5%. The 2 contracts that we have settled with unions are currently settled at the 2.5%, and that would be $33,393.48, just for reference.
Okay, would you like to have discussion first, or would someone like to make a motion for the county commissioner salaries?
I'll make a motion that we just follow the 2.5% that was given to the settled contracts already and the elected, or I mean, not the elected, but the appointed.
Okay, I have a motion for 2.5% commissioner salary, along with the $1,800 for chair and the $1,200 for vice chair, correct, Rod?
Correct.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Knizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you. The second board action and resolution that I have is to establish the 2022 county attorney salary. And the resolution reads, whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners is responsible for setting compensation of the county employees, elected officials, appointed officials, and board members, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners considered the duties and responsibilities of each individual position, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners considered the salaries of elected officials in other comparable counties, and now therefore be it resolved that the Todd County Board of Commissioners approve setting the county attorney's salary at set amount for 2022. You have the county attorney wage survey information. The current Todd County attorney has a salary of $120,514. The request from the county attorney is 2%, and that would be $122,924.28.
Okay, is there a motion to establish the 2022 county attorney's salary? Chuck, would you like to?
Thank you. And you didn't have that graph of this, like, of the average counties that you did?
They all have that.
They have that, so it's like below average, I believe it was. Actually, all I'm requesting is an additional.
How much?
So Chuck is requesting in addition to what is listed at the 2%, which is what he initially requested, he's asking to round that to 123,000.
That's still below the. Salaries, I think, are gonna be. For now, that's all I'm requesting, it's pretty much all of our counties that were compared.
Okay, so I'll ask for a motion for this adjustment of salary. It was
123,000.
123,000. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion for the 2.50, but I would like to start seeing some legal counsel in this boardroom, because I'm tired of my butt hanging out the window.
And Madam Chair, if I could just clarify a little bit further, Chuck had requested the 2%, made a new request of the 123,000, and the 2.5% would be 123,526.85.
Mhm.
Higher than his request, did you wanna do
Uh,
that?
Yes.
Do you want to
I just
move
wanted to
it
make
to?
I
sure
wanna-
you knew that.
I want to go with the 2.5, and I know it's higher than what
Okay.
he requested.
I just
Okay.
wanted to make
I
sure you
want to
were
keep
aware.
everybody on the same page, but I'm also asking that we have legal counsel in here for our board meetings.
Okay,
Just wanted to make sure you were aware of it.
Okay, I have a-
I'll second it.
okay, I have a motion from Newman for 2.5%, a second from Erickson for any further
Yes,
discussion?
I want clarification of what the dollar amount is.
That
It's
would
listed on the
be
page.
$123,526.85.
Oh, down here where it's
Yep.
highlighted, okay.
Yep.
Any further discussions?
Madam Chair, I would like to support Commissioner Newman's statement about having some presence at the county board meetings. I've been, in the past, we haven't had that, and I think it's critical that we have some presence from the county attorney's office. And I think you've agreed to that in the past, but we still haven't seen anything, so.
Actually, I was gonna introduce Mr. Matthews, our newest attorney.
Oh.
Chris Matthews.
Nice to meet you.
How long you been here now? 4 weeks? 2 months? And so we're transitioning files. We still got quite a heavy criminal load. And so with the additional attorney, it's gonna take some time to do that. Expressed interest in present, and so he's gotta work around his caseloads too. He's got a heavy caseload and we're discussing that and we're working on it, so hopefully that'll develop here after the first of the year.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in,
I do have
Oh.
one more question. In his budget, did he put 2% or 2.5%?
That would be 2%.
Well, how do we,
Madam Chair, I think just with the flow of people coming and going and with insurance, people taking different plans, I think the amount that we're asking to cover is
within the
minimal.
budget,
It's there in the budget.
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay, any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you. And the next board action and resolution that I have is to establish the 2022 County Auditor Treasurer salary. The resolution reads as follows: whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners is responsible for setting compensation of county employees, elected officials, appointed officials, and board members, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners considered the duties and responsibilities of each individual position, And whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners considered the salaries of elected officials in other comparable counties, and now therefore be it resolved that the Todd County Board of Commissioners approve setting the county attorney's, county auditor treasurer salary at set amount for 2022. You have the wage survey information in front of you. The current auditor treasurer salary is $94,430. The auditor treasurer is requesting a 5% increase to equal $99,152. And I will allow Denise an opportunity to.
I just presented before you the request that you asked for duties and responsibilities. I don't need to read all those performance measures. Those are listed. I too worked with Linda, and I forgot that paragraph in my letter. I see she put it in hers, but we both had the same understanding that we were asking for what the unions were asking and asking for that step percentage. That's how we get to 5. So, questions I can answer?
Okay. Commissioners, is there a
Madam
motion?
Chair, I see that the current average is, what the auditor treasurer is at is 101%, is that correct?
That is correct.
Madam Chair, I'll move that we give a 2.5% increase.
Okay, I have a motion for a 2.5 increase from Commissioner Kircher. Is there a second? There is a second by Knizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
The next board action and resolution that I have is to establish the 2022 county recorder salary. The resolution reads, whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners is responsible for setting compensation of county employees, elected officials, appointed officials, and board members, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners considered the duties and responsibilities of each individual position, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners considered the salaries of elected officials in their comparable counties, and now therefore be it resolved that the Todd County Board of Commissioners approve setting the county recorder's salary at set amount in 2022. You have the recorder wage survey information in front of you. The current salary of the county recorder is $70,570. The recorder is asking for a 5% increase, which would equal $74,098.50. Linda was not able to be here today. She had a prior commitment that was set 6 months ago. So you do have her supporting documentation on her duties, responsibilities, and performance.
Okay, I will ask for a motion for the county recorder salary for 2022.
Madam Chair, I'd like to comment on that. I think we kind of missed the boat on this one last time around, and I think that's why that number is showing up a little bit low there. I would make a motion to accept the 5%.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Erickson for a 5% for the county recorder's salary. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Knizel. Discussion?
Madam Chair, I mean, I have to agree with the steps and everything, but if we look at everybody, you know, we could have given everybody a 5% increase too. I mean, I'm gonna beat my bandwagon again. I've asked to do this in September. I hate doing this right before Christmas. It sucks. But that's just the way it is. So,
Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
aye.
And it will carry. Okay,
Madam-
establishing the 2022 county sheriff's salary.
Yep, Madam Chair, the resolution reads as follows, whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners is responsible for setting compensation of county employees, elected officials, appointed officials, and board members, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners consider the duties and responsibilities of each individual position, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners considered the salaries of elected officials in other comparable counties, And now therefore be it resolved that the Todd County Board of Commissioners approve setting the county sheriff's salary at said amount for 2022. You have the wage information with you. The current salary of the sheriff is $101,714. The sheriff is asking for a 10% increase, which would equal $111,885.40. And Steve?
Or,
Steve?
just some supportive information on that. Some of the duties we've been going on, we're in the process of upgrading our dispatch center. These are going to be done with all 911 funds, so that's not levy affected. Also, since I've been sheriff, we've added a full-time school resource officer for both Bertha and Browerville, and portion of that wage is paid for by grant funding. We have 7 contract towns throughout the county. The only 2 other agencies that within the county are Staples and Long Prairie Police Department. We were able to add 2 deputies to the staff. We had a fund drive for drones, which was just a little bit over $30,000. We were able to add 3 drones to the office, which are used a lot and are very beneficial to the office. We also had a fund drive for a K9, which also got us over a little over $30,000. So we're able to get a K9 unit back on the force, which is great. Just been using that quite effectively. Also, we're in the process of upgrading. We have upgraded the jail camera system and inmate communication system. That also was put on a basically a lease, not a lease agreement, but they pay for it. They take out the money from the inmate communications until it's paid off. As of now, we signed a 5-year contract with them. We're over half paid within 2 years of this, and that's with inmate populations being really low with COVID. So we're doing quite well there. We also upgraded our inmate doctor and nursing contracts with CentraCare. That includes mental health services, and we're possibly going to upgrade the doctor coming instead of once a week to twice a week so they can do follow-ups with our inmates. We've added a social worker to the jail that's grant funded, so that didn't affect anything with the levy. Came in well under budget in the first 3 years of my term. We also now transport bodies to the medical examiner's office, which saves the county approximately $26,000 a year. We've also added body cameras for the deputies, which is a great benefit for court, and when we get citizen complaints, we can review the body camera, which almost always reveals that it's not as the complainant says what happened. Also, we now have an increase in homicides since I've been in term. We're averaging 1 a year now. We're able to get reimbursement through the state for overtime investigative cost, which saved the county $29,116.92 as those 3 homicides. In those 3 homicides, one's still under investigation. We have 2 convictions on the other 2 prior homicides. We also added an FBI program since I've been sheriff, saving approximately $250,000 in overpayments and fraud with that program, and that's been since February of 2020. And we also switched to the West Central Task Force since I've been sheriff, which basically gets our agent working in Todd County a lot more than they were when we were with Central. They were in St. Cloud almost all the time. Other than that, we got, currently, I'm at 86% of comparable sheriffs that the county uses for comparables, and I understand the county wants its employees to be roughly at 95% of average. I did budget for a 10% increase to get me at that 95% range.
Okay, is there a motion to establish the 2022 county sheriff's salary?
Madam Chair, I've made this statement for probably a year and a half now, maybe a little longer, that the defund the police has been the kind of the topic of the world, or the United States at least, in this in the news and everything else. And I've made a comment that I think we should strongly support our law enforcement, and if not, strengthen our law enforcement to take care of our issues that are taking place right now in our society. So I will move that we bring our sheriff up to the range that I think that office holds, and the respect and authority that office holds. So I'll move for the 10%.
There's a motion for, by Kircher for 10%. Is there a second? Is there a second?
A second for, I have one more question in regards to that. That number at the bottom that we're looking at with the 10% increase, does that put him in the 95 percentile type?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Erickson, that's hard to say because what we're looking at is 2021 data, so it's hard to know what
Oh,
other
what others
counties
will do either,
for 2022.
correct? I mean, you can kind of look at it and do the comparison, but you're right, you don't know what the other ones will be.
Well, I think you can assume, Commissioner Erickson, that the rest of them will get increases,
Yeah,
so it might even take him out of the average.
right.
So-
It's just misleading when you look,
Right.
you know, if you think you're
Right.
increasing by 10% and it's gonna do the same to the percentile rankings, I don't know how it would actually come out, but I'll second.
Okay, there's a second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, it really puts me in a rock and a hard place, 10%. I understand the sheriff. I mean, Commissioner Kircher, what was your salary the last time you were sheriff?
You really wanna know?
Yeah, it was in the 70s, wasn't it?
70-some thousand.
That's what I thought it was.
Any further discussion?
Things have changed a lot though, Commissioner Newman.
I understand that.
If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
I
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you.
The next board action and resolution that I have is changes to group health insurance contribution. The background is the Todd County Board of Commissioners desires to change employer-employee contributions for health insurance coverage within the county's group health insurance plans. The options are to approve the resolution for changes to group health insurance contributions or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve, and I will, Madam Chair, read the resolution.
Yeah.
Whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners are responsible for setting compensation and benefits of county employees, elected officials, appointed officials, and board members, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners desires to change employer and employee contributions for health insurance coverage within the county's group health insurance plan, whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners has previously followed the same pattern, bargained with unions for group health insurance contributions for those not covered under the collective bargaining agreements, and whereas some collective bargaining agreements for 2022 have been settled as of this date, December 21st, 2021, and now therefore be it resolved for employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement, the county shall pay the cost of single insurance coverage up to $813.91 per month, or the full cost of the premium, whichever is less. The county shall pay $1,300 towards the employee plus spouse coverage, $1,075 toward employee plus children coverage, and $1,400 towards family coverage, or the full cost of the premium, whichever is less. The county shall not pay more than the actual premium cost of the plan.
Okay. And Chris, this is just following along, so
With the two
everybody
unions
is
that
the
have
same.
settled, yes, that's correct.
Okay, motion for the change to group health insurance contribution. There a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you. And the final board action and resolution that I have is regarding the national opioid settlement. And it is a resolution for Todd County participation in the multi-state settlements relating to opioid distribution and manufacturers. The background is the Association of Minnesota Counties has been negotiating the terms of the opioid settlement on behalf of Minnesota counties. The attached communication from the Minnesota Attorney General outlines the details and next steps for Todd County to take. The attached resolution provides authorization for county staff to execute the required agreements and forms. The options are to approve the resolution authorizing Todd County participation in the multi-state settlements relating to opioid distributors and manufacturers and the Minnesota Opioid State Subdivision Memorandum of Agreement, and declaring support for an amendment to Minnesota Statute 256.043 Subdivision 3D, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve.
Okay, is there a motion for the resolution for Todd County to participate in the multi-state settlement related to the opioid distribution and manufacturers?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second? second by Knizel. Discussion?
So I did the math on this and I forgot my paper.
Okay, so the rough math on this is that Todd County would receive $863,000 over 18 years.
Years.
Yep, and
Okay.
the first years would be front-loaded a little bit, but it would average about 48,000 per year for 18 years.
And I think it's so important, as they said at AMC, that we, 100%, they need 100% participation from the counties, no matter what the sum of money you were receiving, so the state would receive the 100%.
Yes, and we were asked to act on this in a board meeting in December, once we had all the final information. Everything has to be submitted by January 2nd in order to participate. So if this does get approved, my plan is to get this done ASAP.
Madam Chair, the
Yeah.
county's portion of that settlement was 0.4 something percent.
Yeah.
Is what
Point-
is stated on the paperwork or the email.
Point
I was
four
sent.
one eight
So it's not
something.
4%, it's 0.4%.
The settlement for the state of Minnesota was around 300 million.
Yes.
75% of that goes to the counties, 25% stays with the state, and then there's 7% somewhere in there that will be used for attorney fees.
Okay?
Thank you.
And if I may, Madam
Yes.
Chair, what is the intent of our use of this money?
So there are some listed uses. There's, of course, some rules to follow. The memorandum of agreement points to Health and Human Services as the chief strategist in deciding how to use the funds, but it's really for opioid prevention, education, addiction type uses.
Could we use some of this money for, well, I'm assuming that HHS will use it for educational purposes and prevention purposes, but could we use it for enforcement purposes?
Yes.
So it could go to the drug task force, some of it.
I don't know if Drug Task Force is a specific enforcement, but I do know enforcement was something that was listed.
I would, yeah, I would appreciate some research on that, so we could, because they're always struggling. The state doesn't give them hardly any, if anything, in funding. Most of their funding is federal funding, so I would like to see more money go toward enforcement for this, or at least portion of it. So if we could have some answers to that, that would be great.
Madam Chair, if I could also add, if everything goes through with the settlement, the first round of funding may come as soon as April of 2022.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
And Madam Chair, I'm going to excuse myself from the
Yes.
meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Todd County Ag Society, and I don't see Gerhard here. Denise, would you read that for us, please?
Todd County Ag Society Winter Demo Derby. The Todd County Ag Society is planning a winter demo derby for the event at the Todd County Fairgrounds location. This organization is requesting waiving of rental fees for this event. Recommendation is to approve the waiving of the rental fees for the Todd County Ag Society's Winter Demo Derby event scheduled at the Todd County Fair on January 22nd, 2022.
Okay, and I know they're just asking to waive the fees, and I think it was a fee on the grandstand. Gary, you can maybe help me a little bit too. Yeah, and they just use the money for the fair, you know, so it's all nonprofit, and they use it for nonprofit.
Madam Chair,
yes.
is that the only thing they'd be renting? It's just the grandstand? Denise?
They've
They
already
did the-
submitted their application and their checks, and we've already deposited them, but they were renting, there's the one-day fee for the actual grounds. That was $150, and then their $300 deposit. Now, they are using the grandstand, so that is also a rental that we had just got a hold of them last week and said, hey, you forgot to check this box and send. And so that would have been another $250 and then a $500 deposit. And then if nothing's damaged, of course, the deposits go back after the event, but.
Yeah, and I believe they realize they still have to pay the deposits. They're just asking for a waive of the fee for the use of the grandstand and the fairgrounds for their event. With that, I'll ask if there's a motion.
Madam Chair, just for
Yes.
clarification, and so they already paid the fees for two things, is that correct?
Yeah, yes.
And
The-
the
So we'll
deposits
have
for
to-
those two things?
Yeah, we'll have to, if this is approved, we'll have to go back and retract.
What kind
redact
of
it.
dollars were involved with the two
Well,
that they've
the
already paid?
$300 deposit and the $150 for the grounds for the day.
But they still would owe for the grandstand on top of that.
Right, so they've submitted a
What's the-
$150 and $300 deposit.
What's the damage thing for the grandstands?
The grandstand, it would be $250 for the day and $100 for any additional day and $500 deposit.
I just think it's kind of important that we would have the deposit for the, whatchamacallit, that gets refunded anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
So we can work
Yeah.
with them. They've submitted a check for $150 for the day and a $300 deposit, which has already been ran through our books and deposited. What we can do is just, if you would waive this, we can say their additional $500 deposit will be less that $150 because they've submitted a check already. And they'll get these checks.
Back if
We'll
there's
cut
no
'em check
damage.
back once they
Right,
clear the inspection after the event.
right. So we're just asking for the deposits and not asking for no rent.
So you're asking to waive the $150 per day and for the grounds without
Yes.
bathrooms and the grandstand seating, which is $250 for the day.
Yes.
And still
Yes.
have the deposits,
We'll
correct?
have the deposits in hand,
I
yeah.
would make that motion.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, they would have, toilet rentals out there?
They are providing their own porta potties, they're
Yeah.
doing their own snow removal. That's
Okay.
all listed in the
Because
agreement.
you said the
that they
bathrooms
signed.
weren't usable, so I just wondered. what-
Yeah, the only bathrooms that are kept live out there are in the expo building.
Okay.
So the other ones are down for the winter.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. And then, policy?
Commissioners, the Policies Committee brings forward the establishment of the merit system of personnel. The background is, as part of the process of leaving merit, the county is to have a merit system personnel administration in place per statute 375.56 to 375.71, and the attached resolution has been created. Your options are to approve the resolution. Number 2, do not approve the resolution, with the recommendation to approve the resolution.
Okay, is there a motion to establish a merit system personnel administration?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson, is there a second? Second by Knizel. Discussion, and I think we need some discussion because we're this has been an ongoing process. We got the letter that they accepted, and now
Yes.
we're still within the policy of trying to establish a sounding board or
Yeah, the Board of Appeals.
a bill, okay?
Yep.
And that still has to be made up and come forward, correct?
Correct. The Policies Committee is working on establishing that policy and procedure.
Okay. But as long as we have this in place, we can go ahead.
Yep, effective January 1st, we would be out of merit, and pending that we establish this Board of Appeals, Personnel Board of Appeals.
And that really, from my understanding, doesn't have a real steadfast timeline on, correct?
That's
We
my
have to-
understanding as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have to work on it, but
They
we
know
are-
we're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
why are we calling it the Merit System of Personnel Administration?
That's according to state statute.
Well, we're getting out of the merit system, but we're calling it a merit system.
We're getting out of the merit, we're doing merit ourselves instead of merit doing merit.
Understood.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay,
Simplifies
Yeah.
the application
takes care of that.
part
Yeah.
of people.
Things we're already doing that we've been doing for years,
Yeah,
we are now responsible for doing.
and it's going to cost us less.
Yes.
Mhm.
A lot less.
Okay. Is there a motion? And I'm not gonna repeat, for the merit. Motion by Erickson, is there a second?
Yeah.
Kenizel? Okay, discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe it's Chris at Solid Waste.
Yes, good morning, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. I have 3 board actions to present to you. The first is for the 2022 solid waste budget. And as written here in the board action form, the proposed 2022 solid waste budget is for $3,043,560, and that's for the revenue generation, and $3,042,123 in expenses. This is the budget that's been reviewed with the Solid Waste Committee and is based on revenue generated from our approved fee schedule. I've attached some documents that were submitted with the original budget, and there has not been any changes to this since the original submittal. The options you have are to approve the 2022 budget or to not approve it, and our recommendation is that you would approve the budget, and I apologize, it says by motion. I believe we included a resolution in the packet for this with a small summary on it that just describes some of our major expense items.
Okay. Is there something to be read in summary or not?
No, he's just saying that
Okay.
in his recommendation, he adopting the attached resolution to
Okay.
approve the
So
2022.
then I will ask for a motion for the 2022 solid waste budget. Motion by Kenizel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you. The next board action is for the solid waste hauler licenses and permits for 2022. So you may remember that each year our haulers that haul MSW need to renew their license each year. And so we have sent out letters and received applications for the renewal. As I understand this process, normally the commissions I've worked with have made a separate motion for each individual business. Can I just verify, is that how Todd County will do that here as well?
Denise, do you have?
We just have this listed as the attached document, so are these your haulers here, the LPS, city sanitary?
Sure. If it's okay with you to do it that way, that works fine for me. I guess I just wanted to understand the procedure in Todd County.
If you were going to do them individually, you would have had a board action for each individual hauler. So you've attached this list, and I'll just read them, if that's okay. You have LPS, City Sanitary, G&T Sanitation, Waste Management, Tom's Refuge, Alex Rubbish, and Matheson.
That's
that
correct. Thank you. And then if we can proceed, then the options as are written on the board action are what we're reviewing. So the options are to authorize solid waste department to issue licenses and permits for each applicant contingent upon receipt of necessary documents. And so if you were to look at that table, there are a couple applicants that are missing 1 or 2 documents. So for example, G&T Sanitation, as of the time that we prepared this board action form, had not yet submitted the bond. So for them, the motion is that we won't give them their license even though you've made a motion on it until we receive that bond. the second one that has that similar situation on the table, you can see waste management. There's lots of no's there. Like, we haven't received their check yet. They've explained it's in the mail. So we would like that as the option. There are some other options you can choose by telling me to come back to you on a different board meeting for those applicants that are still in the process of completing their application. Your third option is to not authorize any permits. The recommendation that we would like to have is, as written here, authorize the Solid Waste Department to issue licenses and permits for the following applicants: Long Prairie Sanitation, City Sanitary, Tom's Refuse, Alex Rubush, and Mathiasen. Contingent upon receipt of necessary documents, issue licenses and permits for the following applicants: G&T Sanitation and Waste Management.
Madam Chair, could I ask a question?
Yes.
Chris, this is Commissioner Kircher. We received at our home a letter from the Long Prairie Sanitary that they had taken over the whole county, if I read it right, or my wife told me right. Why are we licensing these other haulers? Are they subcontracting, or what's the deal?
Well, Long Prairie Sanitation, as I've understood it, having spoken with Tom's Refuse, has taken over not all of, but part of Tom's Refuse business. Long Prairie Sanitation does not do all the collection in Todd County. They are a large business and do a large amount of the work, but it is a free market, and all these other businesses are collecting solid waste in Todd County. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Well, yes, I guess I better review the letter we got, because I was under the impression that they had taken over the whole county. I know I get Tom's Refuge, and the letter came now that we go through Long Prairie Sanitary, so.
Right. And I did, you can see here that Tom's Refuse has still applied. As I spoke to Tom's Refuse, they generally, to simplify it, gave up or sold their business associated with the routine collection of, weekly solid waste. But they have kept some of their business. So as an example, when they bring a roll-off to a customer and they put any MSW in that roll-off, they're required to have a hauler's license. And for that reason, they are requesting to renew their license.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I will need a motion for licensed solid waste recycling haulers, and what option, or how would you like to state that motion?
Madam Chair, could I have Denise scroll back up to that chart, please?
Sure.
Was there another no in there? And I just want to make sure he's not, I thought there was a no on Mathiasen, yeah.
Yeah.
So is
yeah.
that, Chris, Rod Erickson speaking, is that not a significant no? I just wanted to make sure that we were not making the thing wrong, or the motion wrong.
He's
I
looking at your-
apologize, I didn't hear the question, Commissioner.
When we're looking at your chart with the no's on it,
Yes,
there are no's in Waste Management, G&T Sanitation, City Sanitary, and Mathiasen.
right. And the no's for City Sanitary and Mathiasen is a map that we ask for, and I guess I'll just call it a forgivable thing that the map's asking for their market area. It isn't, I guess I don't see it as something to push right now for them. Maybe in the future we can do that, but the map has no significant bearing on our operation or our reporting to the state.
That's all I was looking for, thank you.
You're welcome.
Still looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
And how would you like it stated?
It is number 1, I'm sorry. She wants to scroll back up to it, to issue the licenses as the ones listed. Authorize Solid Waste Department to issue licenses and permits for each applicant contingent upon the receipt of necessary documents.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second? Second from Kanizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you, Chair. We have a third board action form that we're calling the recycling survey. The Solid Waste Committee has developed a list of questions and would like to use a survey to determine the public's opinion about options for increasing recycling in Todd County. Forum Communications provided a proposal to print and mail the survey for approximately $15,000 for approximately 13,500 mailings. That includes the postage. The county will also offer an online web-based version of the survey for people who do not receive the mailing. So there is attached the actual questionnaire that we're going through. This is something, again, that the Solid Waste Committee has been discussing for some time. I didn't include it in the background, but maybe I could just add that, we recently, being about a year ago, updated our solid waste management plan with the MPCA. And by statute, we're required to achieve 35% recycling or landfill diversion by the year 2030. And we need to increase it up. To get there, we're about 1,200 tons per year behind. And it's not an impossible task, but it's one of those things where it's not about increasing processing capacity, it's about getting our residents to bring recycling to us. And so we've had quite a bit of discussion of options to do that. And in the questionnaire, some of the questions we're asking are about how the public would like this, because that's who we're serving. And a couple of the primary options are, one is for the county to set out more of these remote bins. So that's a big roll-off that would sit in the county in numerous locations, like 10 to 15 places, strategically located, and your public would be able to bring recycling there that's already sorted and place it in the bins. That's probably the cheapest option, and we think it's a great idea, but customer service is a big part of just our culture. And from what we have heard from the public already, there's a significant appetite by the public to have something that's a higher service. And that an option that would be having curbside collection instead. So like in the communities in the rural area, people would have a cart that they would place recyclables in, and that would be collected by a collection service. With everything, the more service you get, the more it costs. And so that's where we're looking to get some input from the public on that. Do they want a higher cost, higher service option, or do they want a lower service, lower cost option?
Okay. Chris,
Yes.
I see that it's not budgeted. How do you plan on paying for it?
We have reviewed our budget as an enterprise fund, looking at, for example, the through end of November budget. I have here in front of me, year to date, we're more than $300,000 revenue above expenses. So we have the cash available to do this.
Madam Chair, if I could.
Yeah.
Chris, I've been a supporter of recycling for a long time, and I think we've been behind the 8 ball in our county about doing that. What if you state we have an appetite by the public to do recycling, and I just changed haulers and they gave me the option to recycle and I accepted it. I don't think there was an increase in cost that I'm aware of. Why are we spending this kind of money when you're saying there's an appetite for it? And there were these dumpsters out, but every time somebody threw a little bit of garbage in it or something, we discontinued it. Now, I have a community in my area that had it for years and all of a sudden it's gone. They were not happy about that because they were utilizing it. So why don't we just put these dumpsters out and invite the public to use them rather than spending $15,000 on a survey? Why don't we use our knowledge and put them where we have strategic locations and encourage the public to do it? Now, the haulers could certainly send out a note in their bill saying, would you like to recycle? If the public says yes, bring a recycle bin to them. So, to me, I think this 15,000 is a waste, I'm sorry, but.
Okay, and that's okay. We'll certainly follow the direction of the board, Commissioner. A couple of things that went into the conversation is, one is that we talked with the haulers about this. Your county is unique because a lot of your communities require recycling collected in the communities, but it's not being collected rurally. And as the haulers have explained, it's, you know, they may, I'm not aware of how they all do it, but as they've explained to us, and as we've seen it with other counties, there's a significant cost to, you know, you have staff and trucking to collect it, and there's no way you can do that and have it not cost somebody. So in that vein, we've also looked at our performance, and when we're 1,200 tons a year behind on that collection, I agree with you. I like the idea of having more bins out there, and as I recall, you had 3 or 4 at one time, and it's down to 2. And I would agree that we need to go back and expand that up. I guess our thought as we talked about this as a committee is looking at the year-to-year cost. If we went up to what we may need to actually reach our recycling goals, we may need, you know, 10 or 15 facilities, not 3 or 4. And there's going to be a significant effort to get there, because it's hard to negotiate with people on placing bins and maintenance of those bins and hauling costs. We may need to buy another truck if we do that much collection. Those kind of decisions that if, let's say we get 5 years into this, and then we wish that we would have just gone to curbside collection countywide, the actual cost difference is much more expensive than the $15,000 we're investing in making a good decision, because we could be saving or losing hundreds of thousands of dollars each year by being not confident in the decision that we make. But we're here to serve you at the final decision of the commissioners.
Okay, I will ask for a motion for the recycling survey. Please state what your motion would be.
Madam Chair, I'll move that, and my thinking behind this is get the feedback from the residents. Another alternative that we could look at is working with our townships, because everybody knows where their town hall is. And if we do start recycling, they can take them to their town hall if the town hall allows it. So we need to get an idea of interest in it.
So you're going with option number 1, Randy?
Yes, ma'am.
To print and mail the survey.
Yep.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I agreed with Commissioner Kirchers until I heard the rebuttal from Chris McCon on the extra expenses that go into doing that. So I'm gonna go along and second Randy's motion to authorize the survey.
Okay. And I don't know, a motion Newman, second Erickson, discussion.
Madam Chair, I think we should have a work session on this, so Chris could actually come in person and show us the comparisons of expenses versus revenue before we decide to spend 15,000 on these mailings. I think we need to be a little more educated, so.
But Madam Chair, with that, we're gonna be spending $4 million on a new solid waste facility, and we need to keep moving forward.
Okay, any further discussion?
Well, I'll just add that, when we were talking about this, when these maintenance come in, who's gonna total them up, you know, count them and everything? So I talked to with the superintendent, and he's gonna have the kids at school over there. Not gonna process anything for that. Instead of
Okay.
hiring,
Yep.
paying some employees
Okay,
So, Madam Chair, if I may, Chris, on the average, you're lucky if you're gonna get 25% of these back on the average of surveys. If people are like me, you get a survey in the mail, guess what you do with it?
Recycle it, yeah.
It goes into the recycling bin.
Well, I appreciate the humor, Commissioner. I guess part of what I think the committee is trying to do is be loyal
I
to the civic
understand that.
process.
But I'm just saying the percentages of return are pretty poor, usually on a survey, so.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
We-
about
we-
that is people that wanna recycle are gonna recycle.
Should respond, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So if
okay.
don't
We
get
are-
very many, we obviously wouldn't.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor along with a second for option 1 to send out the survey. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And it carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chair.
Jackie?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners.
Morning.
We have an update from STEP. Corey wasn't able to come last session. So Mike has got a printout, and he's gonna provide the update for you before we look at the STEP contract as well as the Northern Pines contract.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
As Jackie said, Corey wasn't able to be here last time or today, so we sent this written report yesterday. Commissioners, STEP ends the year serving just under 70 people with intellectual disabilities and mental health conditions in Todd County. Our numbers have not returned to pre-COVID levels yet, but we are getting closer. We unfortunately lost 2 consumers in December due to illness, 1 to COVID and 1 to cancer. Continue to follow our COVID preparedness plan to manage the disease and to prevent spread at our work sites. We continue with the mandatory mask mandate for all staff and maintain social distancing rules at STEP. Our consumers are vaccinated around 75%, while our staff are vaccinated at a much lower rate. We have not seen any major outbreaks amongst consumers, but staffing issues have come up due to quarantine times among staff. Staffing issues continue to be an issue industry-wide. We have attempted to alleviate those issues by raising our starting wage to $13 an hour, as well as adjusting wages to current employees. While we have not seen a significant increase to applicants, we have seen a decrease in the turnover rate, and overall mood of employees has improved. We continue to look into the future and how to build opportunities for the people we serve to access community resources and provide quality opportunities for community integration. We continue to send a crew of 78 consumers to work at the recycling center at the transfer station. We provide cleaning services at 4 local churches and Hilltop Regional Kitchen. We look forward to your continued support and thank you for all the county does to improve the lives of the people we serve. Thank you, signed Corey Lawrence, Executive Director of STEP.
Okay. Okay, and there is to approve the STEP purchase of service agreement, host county contract renewal. Is there a increase in this at all? No increase or anything?
We are anticipating, it's been a few years, that we may see an increase next year. They kind of give us a heads up already on that. I haven't seen what that is, but a small increase is generally what we see every couple of years, 2 to
Right.
3 years.
And we haven't, I don't think we've recently had to access the full amount of the agreement with them. I believe what Corey may be looking for next year is an increase in the rates. I believe we currently have 5 to 6 consumers that are paid for under the county contract that aren't waiver eligible to pay for those services.
So to give you some background, STEP provides day training and habilitation and supportive employment services for clients with mental health and developmental disabilities. STEP receives referrals from Todd County and other counties to provide these services. Options are to approve STEP purchase of service and host county contract renewal, or to not approve. It is our recommendation that we approve, or the Todd County Board of Commissioners approve STEP purchase of service and host county contract renewal.
Okay, is there a motion for this purchase of and service of the contract renewal for STEP?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson, is there a second? Second by Kneisel. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, the county attorney reviewed all this.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
And let me add, Commissioner Newman, that contract hadn't changed, so it is the same contract that we've had for many years. So thank you for reading that letter, Mike. I don't know if I'd have made it through if I couldn't. Our next board action form is Northern Pines Purchase of Service Agreement Renewal. Some background, Northern Pines provides a variety of mental health services to eligible adults and children in Todd County. The service provided are detailed in the attached Purchase of Service Agreements Renewal. Options are to approve the Northern Pines Purchase of Service Agreement Renewal, and this is a fee-for-service, so there's not any surplanted dollars. Services rendered are what is paid to Northern Pines, or to not approve. Our recommendation is that the Todd County Board of Commissioners approve the Northern Pines Purchase of Service Agreement Renewal.
Okay. Is there a motion for the Northern Pines Purchase of Service Agreement Renewal?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion?
Madam Chair, I'm gonna refrain from the, voting on this. I'm on their board, so.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you, Jackie.
Much.
We'll have a recess for 5 minutes.
So do I.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I needed a break before we get into the heavy workload here.
Yeah. Adam, I had a very interesting question. I had a person come in and ask me, they're purchasing some farmland
Okay.
from a, farmer, that one broke, from a, not an estate, but a bankruptcy,
Okay.
okay? And they're just purchasing the open land, and they told that they had to have it surveyed before they could purchase it.
Okay.
That the county demands them to be surveyed.
Okay.
I said, I had never heard of that. Is that true?
I'd have to know the scenario. It's not, we don't require it in every scenario. If there's a building site involved,
There is not.
okay. I'd have to see the scenario because it's not in every case where we would.
Okay, I told them I had never heard of it,
Yeah. Yeah, there's factors, depending on the complexity of the shape of the parcel, or if they're building sites, or, if you're just taking a 40 and splitting it in half, there's no reason to get a survey.
Okay.
So I'd have to see the specific situation.
The only thing I could think of is because it's just the open acres. And are we going to see this more and more with our taxing? Because the swamps and the wasteland for farmers have gone up so absorbent, they don't want it any longer.
Open places.
So is that going to be a scenario where, because of the higher taxes on this wasteland for farmers, they no longer want to purchase it? And they just want to purchase the actual acres that they can farm?
Then maybe, and there's a market out there, people want to buy hunting land or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's not,
But all of a sudden, are we going to get, not straight lines, we're going to get?
oh, yeah, certainly, you're gonna have, we have weird shaped parcels out there already, but in the scenario you're describing, you'll probably see more of them,
Okay.
so.
Sorry.
Oh,
Oh, we lost everybody.
yeah.
Huh?
Follow the leader.
I guess.
Denise, are we still up and going?
Yeah, they didn't shut down.
Okay. Then we will start with Adam with planning and zoning.
Sure. Okay. The first item is Simon Schmucker, request for a CUP, an application for a conditional use permit on parcel 13002900 in Iona Township was submitted on October 27th to establish a wood processing operation in AF1 zoning. The request was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the December 2nd meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the conditional use with 3 conditions. Number 1, that the applicant must obtain permitting and/or licensing from additional government agencies as necessary. 2, that the hours of operation shall be restricted to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Saturday. And 3, there shall be no loading or unloading of materials within the road right-of-way. The options are to grant the CUP with the 3 conditions, deny it, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. And the recommendation at this time would be a motion to grant the conditional use with those 3 conditions.
Okay, we've got 11.1, the Simons, request for a CUP. Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
All right, next, a request to rezone parcel 1500411700. Request to rezone parcel 1500411700 in Leslie Township from AF1 to Shoreland GD zoning was submitted on November 1st. The request was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the December 2nd meeting, and the final recommendation was to grant the rezone with no conditions. The options are to grant the rezone with no conditions, deny the rezone, or remand it back to the Planning Commission, and the recommendation would be to grant the rezoning of parcel 1500411700 with no conditions.
Okay, is there a motion for approval for, I'm trying to read, parcel 15-0041-700?
And this is just for the rezoning? Madam
Correct.
Chair, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'll move it for the rezoning part of it.
Okay, there's a motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, third. Lakeside Acres First Edition Preliminary Plat. A subdivision request to establish a 7-lot preliminary plat on parcel 1500411700 in Leslie Township was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission on December 2nd. The recommendation from the Planning Commission is to approve the preliminary plat with the following conditions. Number 1, to stabilize the gully area between lots 2 and 3 prior to final platting. Stabilization plan and construction must be approved by Todd Soil and Water Conservation District. 2, placement of a permanent protected easement, drainage easement around the gully area between lots 2 and 3. And 3, that the developer and future property owners must obtain appropriate permitting when necessary from other governmental agencies, including but not limited to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and the Sauk River Watershed District. The options are move to approve the establishment of Lakeside Acres First Edition preliminary plat with those proposed conditions, move to deny the establishment, or move to remand it back to the Planning Commission. And the recommendation is to approve the Lakeside Acres First Edition preliminary plat with those proposed conditions.
Adam, can I ask you a question? I see this is Leslie Township. Is this the township that came and talked to the board?
That's correct.
And is this the plot they were talking about?
Yes.
It is.
Yep.
And so they had sent a letter?
Yeah.
For it to be tabled until they had their meeting?
Yes, I have that here, if you give me one moment.
Okay.
So we got actually 2 pieces if you want me to read them.
Oh.
Both for the board. They're very short.
Okay.
If that's what you'd like. This one came first. It says, it is unfortunate the board member will not be able to attend tonight's meeting. Town board feels that if the county approves a rezoning of Lakeside Acres First Edition from AF1 to Shoreland GD, it should include the road easement. The road should be brought up to county road specifications. We feel infrastructure is needed in connecting Fawn Drive to Finch. In the future, the new road could be accepted and maintained by the township. And then just a short bit later, there was a second email sent that said Doug Kaiser would like it if you could table this until your January meeting. We had to cancel our November meeting due to COVID. We have not had a chance to discuss this for a couple of months. And on that first piece, they're referring to the rezone, but then also to the road. So I think there was just some confusion on which application they were looking at the time. And I don't know that they had major concerns with the rezoning aspect, but more of the preliminary plating process.
Where are we with time frame with this? I mean, are we within the time frame that?
Yeah, we can always extend the applicant, the county has the right to extend from the application date an additional 60 days. And usually we have those, but I think they're on the cover of the monthly, we put all these folders into a single monthly larger folder, and I think our 60-day notice is on that folder, not with me. But the application was October 27th. We're certainly within the 60 yet. If we extend it by 60 days, we'd certainly, that's 120 days from the date of application. And we would certainly be okay with timing-wise to make a decision then.
Okay.
If I may add, there was discussion amongst the planning commission about the letters from the township, and they acknowledged that the township has valuable input. But they felt, the planning commission at the time felt like they had all the information they needed in order to make a decision that night, and that's the reason this is before you today rather than waiting till January.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I'm gonna move, we send this back to the Planning Commission for further discussion. They need to get input from the township, and I don't know how you're gonna change the rules but you gotta let these developers know, go to the township first before you think about plating and get the permission from the township, because they're the road authority.
Agreed.
I'm not the road authority, they are. So,
We always recommend that when people come in and start talking about preliminary plating, that's one of the first conversations is where's your road frontage and is it on a county road or a township road? And, those conversations are important to have up front, whether you're using a township road or you're creating a road that the township will then take over. Those conversations are important.
Just for clarification, are you going to table it and send it back, or are you going to make a motion?
I can table it and send it back, correct?
Yeah, you can make them, I would recommend a couple things, that you
Okay.
make a motion to table it and send it back to the planning commission and, add a 60-day extension to the application decision deadline.
Got it.
Madam Chair, you're not tabling
Yes.
it, you're option 3.
We're sending it,
Option
we're
three
sending
is
it back.
to Topic back to
Okay.
planning
Table it,
commission.
Just move to
Okay.
send it back.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, just we get this.
And I would just, if we,
Okay,
and
I
I can
see
adjust the
options
board
three right
action
here.
to include that 60-day.
Yeah, but it's fine, because your
Okay.
option is to
Yep.
send it back to the planning
Okay.
commission.
Okay.
Then they'll start over. again.
Okay, so we have a motion for option 3 from Newman. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay. Seconded by Knizel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carry, so that will be sent back then.
Yep, so that'll
Okay.
likely be back in the second meeting in January.
Okay.
The only thing I'd add, I'll talk to Jason about this to make sure we're not running into any public notice issues. It has been publicly noticed, but our January meeting has already been sent out for public notice. So I just want to make sure those things
And my other
jive.
recommendation is make sure you get hold of the township early. If you guys
Yep.
send a letter to all the township board members, so
Yeah.
that we don't run into the same situation we did before.
And I'll reach out to, I believe Leslie's meeting is coming up soon.
I would call Doug Kaiser.
Yep. And then I'll also reach
Get
out
a hold of
to-
him, because right now I just heard that their clerk is back in the hospital with more issues, so
Yeah, and what's
you
the
would.
neighboring township? Is it Gordon? I'll reach out to them also.
okay.
If you do with Gordon, make sure that you notify all of them, because they just had a switch in their clerk too.
Oh, okay.
One resigned,
That's
one
good
came on.
information. Excellent.
And Madam Chair, just to get on that, I think what we'll do is try to get a list of the townships and when they have their meetings, because they're all over. Some have them on Mondays, some have them on Tuesdays, some have them on Thursdays, so,
Usually the auditor's office, after their election in March, you update it and update the meetings at that time.
so you guys have a list down there, so you know when their meetings are.
I did not know that this list existed until right now, so that would be really
Oh.
good information for our office to have.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome. I will touch base with you on that then. Okay, are we ready for the next one?
Yes.
Okay. Lakeside Acres Second Edition Preliminary Plat. Subdivision request to establish three-lot preliminary plat on parcel 1500400001 in Leslie Township was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission on December 2nd. The recommendation from the Planning Commission was to approve the preliminary plat with the following conditions. Number 1, all accesses must be approved by the township and shall only be connected to Fern Drive. 2, the developer and future property owners must obtain appropriate permitting when necessary from other governmental agencies, including but not limited to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and the Sauk River Watershed District. So the options would be moved to approve the establishment of Lakeside Acres second edition preliminary plat with the proposed conditions, move to deny the establishment, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. The recommendation would be approval of Lakeside Acres second edition preliminary plat with those proposed conditions.
Okay, is there a motion for Lakeside Acres Second Edition preliminary plot?
Madam Chair, I'm gonna move this one also back to the Leslie Township Board, or back to the Planning Commission, excuse me, to get more input from the Leslie Township Board on this.
Okay.
Vern
Mo-
Drive isn't very big, so I just don't know if they got any concerns on that, so.
Okay, yep.
Motion by Newman to move it back to the Planning Commission. Is there a second? Is there a second? Second by Kneisel. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, next is Luna Sioux Hideaway preliminary plat. A subdivision request to a one-lot preliminary plat on parcel 1500400002 in Leslie Township was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission on December 2nd, and the recommendation with the Planning Commission was approve this preliminary plat with the following conditions. Number 1, that new accesses to the property must be approved by the township, and 2, the developer and future property owners must obtain appropriate permitting when necessary from other governmental agencies, including but not limited to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency in the Sauk River Watershed District. The option to be moved to approve the establishment of Luna Sioux Hideaway preliminary plat with the proposed conditions, and move to deny the establishment or remand it back to the Planning Commission, and the recommendation at this time would be approval of Luna Sioux Hideaway preliminary plat with those proposed conditions.
Okay, is there a motion for Luna Sioux Highway preliminary plat?
Move to approve.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Erickson. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. So when this plat first come to light, there was 20 lots. Now it's, 4 lots? Well, 3 lots. Now they're starting to split the 3 lots into multiple lots. Okay, so does the SWPP kick in after so many lots are split, or how is that gonna be done?
The SWIP is based on the amount of exposed soil, not based on the number of lots. Where the lots come in, the number of lots may or may not trigger the EAW review. And with 4 lots, it's, I think in a sensitive shoreland area, you need a minimum of 15 to trigger that EAW. And in non-sensitive, it's 25. And there is phase actions, there's different other triggers along the way, but even you compare side by side, the total number of lots between all these developments still doesn't get to 15.
So I agree with that, and I agree with property. People have the right to do with their property what they want once they buy it. But when we start over-splitting here and taking these lots, whether it's 7 or 4 or whatever, and continue to split these, we're causing more and more issues that, are they gonna be addressed? Can we as a board come in and say there'll be no splitting of any of these lots?
You could place a condition, I'd want to run that by Jason first. Conditions that prevent future actions that are allowed by the ordinance are discouraged. If it's allowed by the ordinance based on the dimensional standards, it should not be a condition that would limit them from meeting something that meets the ordinance requirements.
Because all this runoff is gonna eventually run into Lake Osakis.
Yep, and so as you do further development, you can, as they re-subdivide or do new additional platting, you can add additional conditions to that plat if there is, the conditions have to be reasonable and connected to the plat, but you can always add those later. If further subdivision warrants it, then you can do that at that time, yes.
Because the more 50 by 100-foot sheds that get put up, the more impervious you have, because then you're
Absolutely.
gonna have driveways leading to them.
Yep,
So
yep.
If I may, Madam Chair, why would the county board be concerned about this when the Sauk River watershed is supposed to come in and take care of those things, Randy? Because they're paying for a permit.
they asked on the last that we sent back, and they got blew off by
Who-
the
who
planning
asked?
commission. The Sauk River watershed asked for a stormwater management plan, and
Who blew them off?
planning commission. That wasn't
That
one of
was,
the commissions.
not
That
on
was-
the, not on the 3-lot one, on the 7-lot one, that was part of the discussion
Yep.
from the Sauk River watershed, that, stormwater management, but should be consideration. All those things are collected by myself and presented to the planning commission, and they
Which-
do it. that
Which I couldn't
information.
believe Water and Soil didn't jump on board with the Sauk River watershed. It was really, yeah, I haven't seen that before.
And the only other thing I would add is that the reasonable related conditions, in my mind, have to be, there's a measuring stick to establish what's reasonable, and that measuring is in comparison to what the ordinance requirement is. On those 7 lots, I think one of them is 1.5 times, and the rest are more than double the size of our minimum ordinance requirement. So, and they're still have those caps of 15 and 25% by our ordinance of impervious surfaces too. So, you can look at it a lot of different ways. But I guess that's off topic of where we're at right now too. So I apologize.
Any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay. Joseph Frank request for CUP. An application for conditional use on parcel 06004590 in Burnhamville Township was submitted on October 28th to establish a ground-mounted community solar facility in AF2 zoning. The request was reviewed by the Planning Commission on December 2nd, and the final recommendation was to grant the conditional use with 3 conditions. That the applicant must obtain permitting and/or licensing from additional agencies as necessary. Submission of an interconnection agreement with the electric service provider prior to issuance of land use permit, and the site shall be limited to 3 proposed solar arrays. Additional arrays shall be reviewed by the planning commission. And the option would be to grant the CUP with 3 conditions, deny it, or remand back to the planning commission for further consideration. The recommendation at this time would be a motion to grant the conditional use with those 3 conditions.
Okay, is there a motion for the Joseph Frank request for CUP?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson, is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Second by Kircher.
What
Discussion?
does it mean by ground-mounted community?
The community piece just really indicates that it's connected with the electrical grid.
Okay.
You can have ground-mounted systems that supply power strictly to that site, but what triggers it going into community just means that it has an interconnection with the electrical grid, which we have it on the work session today to discuss this, but that likely could change, but that's the way our ordinance is set up at the time of application.
So how much land does this cover, this solar?
That I don't have in front of me. I don't have the folder. It's not a large space.
It's a very small
Is it small?
system.
Okay.
It's more of a private system, but it's hooked
Yeah,
into the grid.
that's
so
what I was
that
kind of
it
putting together in my
And-
mind, but I wanted to make sure.
And what I'm learning is that state rules require you to interconnect with the grid no matter what.
Okay, any further discussion?
We also limited it, Dave, to just that proposed amount,
Yep.
and he would have to come back and ask for
Okay.
permission to
Additional.
expand. Yep.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, a request to rezone parcel 21008805, request to rezone parcel 21008805 in Round Prairie Township from commercial to R2 was submitted on October 25th by Blair Hetland and Mary Kraus. The request was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the December 2nd meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to deny the rezone petition with the following findings of fact. 1, request to rezone to R2 will create a spot zone, and 2, the comprehensive plan land use guiding principle number 2 states, optimize the existing and future use of our land resources to be consistent with good economic development practices and concern for the environment in ways that minimize conflict between citizens and the county. So the options would be 1, deny the rezone based on the provided findings of fact. 2, grant the rezone with potential conditions. Or 3, remand back to the planning commission for further consideration. And the recommendation at this time would be a motion to deny the rezoning of parcel 21-000-8805 based on the provided findings of fact.
Okay, is there a motion for parcel 21-0008805?
So, Madam Chair, can we have discussion on this
Yes.
before we vote? I got a question on this parcel. They were talking about building a shed house, right?
Yes, I believe that's what
Okay.
they were trying to get
So
to.
if I drive down 71 right now, there's probably 2-3 houses on 71 going south,
Sure.
just between here and Round Prairie. So what would be the difference if they put a house in? It would kind of fit right in there, and if eventually they wanted to do a business out of that house, it would fall within that commercial, similar to what we have down there already, correct?
Yeah, I'm not denying that it would blend right in. The planning commission felt,
So
Yeah.
would it be any different? Because if I did an aerial, if we had an aerial of that area, you would see homes there, I'm assuming, that are pretty close, right?
yep, yeah, actually their existing home is right across the road that comes off of 71 to the north there.
So why would they come in here and say this is spot zoning if maybe they didn't go down and take a look down there?
Yeah, we always do site visits. The spot zoning is based not on the structures, it's based on the zoning as it is identified. So there is no R2 zoning in this relative area. There is commercial, which is it is, and then the next outside of commercial would be R10. And that's what creates a spot zone, regardless of the structures.
And this request was strictly for rezoning.
Yes, they do not have enough acres to meet the 10-acre minimum for R10. Their only option that it would fit was R2, and as I understand it from the applicant, is they just wanted to try their hand at it, see if they could get it to pass. And Planning Commission made their decision based on the spot zoning, and that the intention of number 2, I believe, was that a comprehensive plan tries to limit conflict between citizens, and when you're putting houses in commercial zones, it just has opportunity to create conflict.
Well, I'm just shocked because all of a sudden I'm seeing a comprehensive plan use guiding principle. I haven't seen that in a while.
For the Planning Commission and now more recently for the Board of Adjustments, there's always a reference to the comprehensive plan in my staff report. At least one, usually more than one.
Been looked at numerous times by the planning commission on many different ones recently.
And that's good.
Okay,
They all
we
have the
are
book.
at discussion. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Okay, Erickson made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And carries.
Okay. The Eddie Kaufman request for CUP, an application for conditional use on parcel 05009500 in Berlin Township was submitted on November 9th to establish a commercial greenhouse in R10 zoning. The request was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the December 2nd meeting. The final recommendation from the Planning Commission is to grant the conditional use with 4 conditions as follows. 1, the greenhouse operator must provide adequate off-street parking for all greenhouse traffic. No parking will be allowed within the road right-of-way. 2, no loading or unloading of materials will be allowed within the road right-of-way. 3, the business is restricted to 2 greenhouse structures. Construction of additional greenhouses will require the review of the Planning Commission. And 4, the applicant must obtain permitting and/or licensing from additional governmental agencies as necessary. The options are to grant the CUP with the 4 conditions, deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. And the recommendation would be a motion to grant the conditional use with the 4 conditions.
Okay, is there a motion for the Eddie Kaufman request for CUP? Okay, Knizel, motion for number 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, did Berlin Township give you a response back on this one?
No.
Were they notified?
Yeah, they're always notified with the application. Every township is, and then depending on its location, a neighboring township may or may not be notified. But always the township is located in gets a public notice. This site here is connected to County 11? I don't even remember, but it's connected to a tar road. Well, it'd be a township road, so it wouldn't be 11, but it's connected to a tar. They already have an access, and there's kind of a treed-in area where they have plenty of parking space. They're going to turn into gravel, but no response from the township.
Okay, so I'm just wondering if they met that, that time frame. If they met before, see, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
that
saying.
I don't know.
Because
We-
again, they can't talk to each other, otherwise it's a violation of open meeting law, so, okay.
But if there was concern, one of them could call in.
Well, they,
One could call in and say.
but if it goes to the clerk would have to notify him. That's how it goes. You
Our
mail
note-
it to
And
the
the clerk
clerk.
can't communicate with them?
Well, she should,
Should.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right,
so,
should.
Our notices, I believe, go to the clerk and the chair. So they get 2 notices at the township.
Okay.
I would think if these townships have a concern, they would call.
Exactly.
yeah.
It's really not abnormal to not hear from the
Or they call their
townships.
commissioner, one or the other. I get calls. So.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, Anthony and Nicole Mittendorf request for CUP, an application for conditional use permit on parcel 03002560 and 0300169002 in Birchdale Township was submitted on November 1st to increase the allowable animal units on site in shoreline NE zoning from 93.02 to 99 animal units. The request was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the December 2nd meeting. The final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the conditional use with 6 conditions. 1, the applicant must obtain permitting and/or licensing from additional government agencies as necessary. Facility owners must maintain registration every 4 years and remain compliant with Todd County Ordinance and Minnesota 7020 rules. No feedlot, stockpile, or farm compost can be developed in the area directly to the north and west of the basin area between barns. Any future livestock lot or barn construction will be required to be reviewed for compliance by the feedlot program prior to construction or install. 5, the conditions of the CUP must be disclosed to any future landowners or real estate transactions. And 6, all land application setbacks and Minnesota 7020 rules pertaining to the storage and handling of manure must be followed. And the option would be to grant the CUP with those 6 conditions, deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. The recommendation would be a motion to grant the conditional use with those 6 conditions.
Okay. The Anthony and Nicole Mittendorf request for CUP. Is there a motion?
So move with, number 1, grant cup with 6 conditions.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to follow up on the comments about the township boards. In March, after the elections, they are certified to us who their new board members are. We don't know the meeting dates, but I do know the resource guide that the Independent News Herald puts out lists all local government entities, and the townships are in there with their members and their dates of their meetings and times and location. So you might want to use the resource guide. We would just
Okay.
have who the new township board members are.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Denise, at the time when you get that, would it be hard to have them put their dates on?
We could ask them. It would be something I'd have to add to the list of asking, but it's just typical. After an election, it's just their certification to us
Yeah.
of their board members. We don't ask for their meeting dates,
For
but
the meeting
something we
dates.
can add to the workload, we can do that.
So, something to keep in mind, anyway.
Yep.
Okay, standing reports, auditor treasurer.
The only thing I have right now is year-end reporting. We have a lot of reporting with ARPA funds. It's fun to spend the money, but the workload comes back in my office, and we're also following up with audit matters from the CARES Act. And we did get pegged on 2 of the vehicles that were purchased by the state audit, following our local audit, so now we have to go back and justify that to those auditors. And that report will be submitted today. I've completed that report to the state auditors, and we'll find out at that local level now if we have to do any more, or if we have to look at the finance committee to pay the money back.
Pay the money back, okay.
Denise, do we have a meeting next week?
Yes.
The year-end meeting, yes, is Tuesday, yes. And that's the year-end meeting for finalizing bills. I think Adam has a whole boatload of special assessments.
Yeah, he's bringing that to work session, in just a few minutes. Yep,
Are you not here?
I've seen it on,
yeah.
Yeah, it's our yearly year-end one.
Okay,
So,
commissioner reports? None. Coordinator report? Kinda silent. So we will be recessed until December, is it 28th, Denise?
28th, yes.
At 9
28th,
o'clock?
Yep.
Okay. Now let's take a few-minute break. Hilltop, I believe is on the top.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you all here. It's kind of a crazy day out there with all that wonderful snow. I just wanted to come on behalf of the Eagle Bend Senior Housing Group.
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to speak to you a little bit on behalf of the senior housing group that's working in Eagle Bend for the Hilltop Regional Housing Development. Right now, I'll just give you a little update. The members of that committee are Jay Eckel, Jackie Lawrence, Virginia Helt, Sharon Notch, and myself. We report to Kevin and then to the city council. I spoke with Gary Kneisel and just brought him up to date on some of the things, and therefore I am here. So thank you very much for that. Some of the history is that we've been working on development of the school in Eagle Bend for some time. Many of you are aware of that. It's got a long history. We've done everything from look for ways that we could turn it into some kind of a place where we could develop businesses from different kinds of housing. We've actually had it reviewed for, excuse me. Okay, thank you. And also we've had it reviewed for family housing. And at the time that we had it reviewed for family housing, it was reviewed by Deanna Hemish. And what she determined is that we had a high score, except that we didn't have 15,000 miles, or 15,000 jobs within 15 miles. And one of the things that was happening at that time, that cities like St. Joe were only qualified for housing funds for family at that time because of the jobs in St. Cloud. So obviously we couldn't move Eagle Bend all to a bigger place. So working with that, we've continued to work, and then when the funding came available for the Hilltop, we progressed to move to that project, because that was the most important thing that would happen, is to get those meals out in the community. I'm really pleased to say that that has just grown. Right now, it's serving the entire county. At one time, we were in 2006 and 7, we actually started, and we were one of 2 that were providing this bundled meals in the state of Minnesota. And what that has given us is a leverage to continue to that operation to a statewide operation. We actually do serve bundled meals all the way to Gray Eagle. I know, I've personally delivered them. And that's one chance for me to do an assessment of the housing and what needs to happen to support that senior. Along with that, we've been looking at how we can actually fund and develop the building. And so we've accessed Deanna Hemish from the Central Minnesota Housing Partnership to come in, have a preliminary study done, and she has actually made a commitment that she would like to develop housing in units in that, and that she would not like to operate, obviously, the auditorium component. So in June, we were actually able to work with the legislature, John Poston and Mr. Gazelka, and to have it approved to transfer the Eagle Bend School from the Bertha School District. And most of you know that history, right? Not new. Well, the paperwork is almost done, and that's what's the important thing. Along with that, they have designed a 99-year lease to operate housing with Deanna Hemish, and that's a template ready to go. It was required by the funding that they actually fund it longer and have a lease to 125% of its extended life. Architects are saying that that building has another 80 years of life. That's pretty amazing. In the time that I've been working with the project, which is basically from 2006 forward, we have actually had probably 12 to 15 different architects come in and look at this building and give their assessment. We've had amazing results. Yesterday, Minnesota Housing Partnership visited with us. Their director, Sarah Belafile, came in along with her staff to assess if we could receive additional technical assistance with their organization. In the past, I worked with HRA and Kim, and what we have done is we have actually completed over 2 years of training in housing, how to fund, how to select developers, meeting developers. It's been an interesting education. It's been also very rewarding. One of the key turning points in this discussion has been because they receive USDA funding through Minnesota Housing, that obviously they would have speakers representing Minnesota Housing come and speak to us. And during that time, one of those speakers talked about what's going to happen with the housing that is allocated, that we would have funded for people who are very low income. The funding is going away. USDA funding is sunsetting. So actually, Kim went out and has worked to transfer not less than 3 units in her area in Todd County to housing under HRA in order for that not to happen. The question came up, and which actually made me decide that we really, really need to look at this seriously. The question was, what does the government have in plan to replace the USDA housing? And the speaker from USDA indicated that they would wait at a government level till grandmother was sleeping under the bridge. That's kind of frightening. It's kind of frightening because we really don't have that kind of bridges in Todd County, and we have a lot of seniors. In fact, the seniors are part of our economic development. And although we were looking at ways that we could do economic development, every time we keep a senior in Todd County, it's economic development. We've worked with Ben Winchester, and we've worked with the economic developer here, who's part of our team, to look at how we do that. And housing is one of the important ways we do that, by having safe housing to move people to. What that does also is it creates workforce housing. So why did we apply to get some extra technical assistance? Because working with this now, we have a clear path. We have the building, we have the community support, we obviously have the seniors. The first time since I've been working on this project, which is since 2006, there is a national as well as a statewide effort to have housing. It's actually one of the key factors most funding packages are looking at. Right now we're looking at the potential for some bridge funding, technical assistance, and a potential to apply for a $10,000 match grant. And what I wanted to do is to talk to you about one of the things we've done is we have asked many people to come and look through that school. Yesterday they looked through it and came back just as ecstatic and pleased to be part of this project as all of the other architects have been, because the building is sound and it's in safe condition. It's had the asbestos removed, and so some of the conditional provisions of funding for housing have been met. We currently have two proposals, one from Blumenthal's architect, which is the architect that works with Deanna Hemish, and also from Hess Royce Historic Consultants. The Blumenthal's is for a architectural drawing and their support, and also for applying for historic preservation funds. And right now, Minnesota Historic Preservation funds are due to sunset in 2022. So with that said, we have also gotten a proposal from Hess Royce for Historic Consultants, and their request for funding for that is $42,960. Potential for 20% rebate on each level, both state and federal. Given that, that is an awesome return on investment to put in $42,960, preserve a piece of property, and receive the federal funds that can make that a livable and socially acceptable place for our people to move. What we're looking at is how do we make that bridge? Well, one of the things that I just heard in the previous thing is because of COVID, one of the things that I'm finding that everybody's out there redesigning their grants application times and what they're doing and how they're doing it. I've been in contact with the Initiative Foundation, Region 5, Sourcewell, Blandon, Historic Preservation Offices, the Legacy Preservation Officers. In fact, just about anybody who has $1 to offer, quite frankly. And that's what they're all saying. But while we're working on this, I intend to apply to have any of the preservation funds that we can have, as well as the support to make that transition. And what I thought I would like to do is to say one of the things we're looking at is with the auditorium. We've had Representative John Poston come in and look at this property. He and Gazelka supported the transfer of the property along with the $1.5 million to the city of Eagle Bend, and he recommended that when we do this building, that we not only do the housing, but that we also do the architectural design and have that done for the auditorium. Because he said there's no other regional resource for entertainment in the area like that. That would be really important for us to have. It actually becomes more important because of COVID, because we do need smaller venues for people to get together. It also is important for the historic preservation so that we can actually work with our communities. One of the small things that happened in this process is actually, we have a bad roof on that building. And we decided to do a fundraiser, and we did that, just cash fundraiser. And Eric from the school, when I talked to him, who was from the school, Bertha, plunked down his $20, because that's what we asked for, just $20, and said, we'd like to do the prom there. So we actually have interest from schools doing special things at the Eagle Bend School as well, and utilize the operation. One of the interesting things, I graduated from the Eagle Bend School, and when we did our senior and junior class plays, we never used microphones. It was really important because it's one of the most acoustically sound auditoriums anywhere. And given that, we'd like to preserve that. And with that, we actually have people who come from the Browerville School who would actually like to have some of the speech things that are happening in Browerville happen there, so that they could actually get used to the real life of working with different auditoriums and different venues. I'm just going to open it up for some questions. I think that's probably the best right now. It's been a long history of working and redesigning that building, and obviously you have questions from your people, and why I wanted to come today is so you had some kind of awareness that we were still positive, working forward, and with a strong support from the city of Eagle Bend. Are there any questions?
Questions?
Okay. So one of the things that we're looking at is I've talked to Chris Pelzer about being on the board meeting next year. And what we're looking at is across the board, not necessarily from this board, but across the arena right now, is access to bridge funding for the money to do these proposals, which I just mentioned, to get us through. What that bridge funding will open the door for us to do is to access the $1.5 million. So it's a really small amount of money to access the 1.5 million. We actually have to have, in order to access the deed money, we have to have everything in place and the funding completed. We can't access it today. So it's actually saying that it's a way that the community needs to buy in to make this a regional dream come true for our whole community. Along with that, definitely letters of support as I apply for funding. And one letter of support would definitely do that, and could actually work on recommending funding and support for both the auditorium and the housing. I think that would be easy to do. You've done that in the past. In fact, did one for this partnership grant that I applied for.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
At any time you'd like to call, I have no problem answering questions, because I know people in the community are always wanting to address this issue. Every time they look at that school, they want to know why, how, and when. And many of the people that I've been working with have actually called me and talked to me about moving in, and actually haven't lived long enough to move in there yet.
Okay, thank you.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. These will be fairly quick here. First, the planning and zoning violation assessments. Again, we bring those to work session in usually late September, and then assess them in the early part of October, allow them a few months to make corrective actions, and then come back for this work session, and then bring the actual actions to the last meeting of the year to decide if we want to keep them in place or not. Outside of just simply following protocol, I would not have been here today otherwise, because over the past 3 months, we've heard nothing from any of the ones that we assessed in October. So that's the only reason I had this on the work session, is to share that with you. So the plan would be to take every single one of those that we assessed in October and just put them on the agenda and get through them, and all of them will be assessed as we had planned in October. Outside of, if you have any specific questions on any of them, even outside of this, we can certainly talk about them, but I just want to make sure we're sticking to our procedures in this process.
I believe we are. And I think from earlier conversations, we have to bring them each in individual.
Yep, I actually already thought about that this morning and submitted them all to Jolene for, and they're all individual items.
Okay.
So that's the update I have on that, outside of any other questions.
Any other questions? Nope, good to go.
Awesome. Okay. Solar ordinance discussion. This was a couple work sessions ago. We had discussed changes to our solar ordinance. And then at the end of that, it was asked that I just send out a clip of our ordinance for you guys to read through and then revisit it at a future work session. So that's why I'm here now. I'm thinking that the consensus is we need to review it and potentially make some changes to it. So we know that much. My request from the board is if you could give a little direction, some thoughts on things that you'd like to see adjusted or changed or added. We know decommissioning, that's why I'm a notepad. Decommissioning is a big part of it. We don't have anything right now. So anything.
Adam, I actually attended at AMC a work session on this, and I will give you that paperwork. To me, it was a very, very good work session.
Okay.
It was put on by, and I don't have my paperwork here, but it was put on by some of the counties. Was it Wright County, maybe? Anyway, they have been working with the solar and how they kind of shaped it. Pardon? Yeah, and like they said, they started like building a burger where they did their platting out, and they took out all the cities where the solar panels wouldn't be able to be used. They took out the water, the lakes, and then they got down to a smaller, narrower, and then it was the grid that could take the electricity out was the last one, that they had to have that in place too. It was very, very interesting meeting that I was at. I'll try to remember to bring the paperwork in.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Gary, did you go to that one also, or not? Yeah. Yeah, I thought they did a real good job.
You know what? I talked to one guy that's by Verndale, they're doing solar. He said that, I asked him about the contract,
Yeah.
he said that was the state has it in the contract where the power company has to put a bond up or money up for tearing the stuff down.
Yeah.
You know if that's true or not?
I don't know the state rules on that. It sounds like.
He was in their contract, he said, but.
Sure, and I think that very easily could be reality for those larger systems like that. We do not have anything for these smaller systems that we're seeing a lot of. And they're smaller, but there is nothing that requires a landowner to take them out, dispose of them properly, and do any sort of like reclamation on the site or anything. So I think that's, maybe the bigger issue is the smaller systems, not the larger systems. Either way, our ordinance has nothing related to decommissioning. Our ordinance is also structured based on how the solar array is going to be used, not based on size, which is a consideration looking at neighboring ordinances, is that if, these smaller systems, in the last few months, I think we've brought 6 or 7 of them before you guys, where in reality, those maybe could be under a size limitation, have performance standards set up that they must meet, but not need a conditional use. And when we get into larger systems, we can analyze that, but that's another consideration in, generating an updated ordinance.
Yeah.
But
I think, listening to this other county, I think it's something that we have to move on. I will bring you in that paperwork.
Sure.
And the people who put on that program, I thought did an excellent job of it.
Sure.
I think something else that needs to go in there, Adam, is taxing. How it's taxed, how it's gonna be taxed, how they can vary tax.
Okay.
Been issues coming up, I know, in regards to that, on land use. Type
Sure.
is what it's boiling down to.
Yeah, and Chris would obviously be a much greater resource on tax-related stuff than I would be. I don't know how taxes can relate to our planning and zoning ordinance, because they're really independent of each other, but it's something that could certainly be discussed and addressed to at least have a plan or know how we proceed with that stuff. So we can bring Chris into that conversation too.
And they also did, with the farming operations, if you could run small animals, the fencing to keep deer, wildlife out.
I think our biggest concern is farms, these big farms,
CRPs, yeah.
These
Yeah.
big solar farms is what we should be really concerned about. And Commissioner Newman made a statement earlier about people's rights on their property. I think we need to be a little careful about, if I want to put up small solar panel to heat my house or something, do I need a permit all the time, every time I gotta do something? And, you know, it's, disposal could be one thing, but permitting is
Right.
another, and I think we need to talk about that.
We gotta separate that private compared to commercial, when they start building in.
Yeah, and like I mentioned when we had that board action today, as my understanding is if you put a solar array up, you're required to interconnect with the grid. Well, based on ordinance, that automatically triggers you to get a conditional use, where structuring things based on size wouldn't necessarily have these small time units required to get a conditional use. So we're, like, that first piece of our ordinance about small ground mounted or roof mounted systems only serving the primary use on the property, it's basically useless. Because you put a solar panel up, you gotta interconnect, then you need a conditional use. So that first section or that designation in our ordinance is a useless piece right now.
Did they talk about a for-profit situation? Now, in other words, if I wanna put up a bigger one and I wanna get a for-profit, that triggers something else, which should be a CUP. But if I'm just doing it on my rooftop, you know, that should be, I should be able to do that without any you know, I'm servicing myself, so.
Adam, have any of these been out there long enough where they're doing any reclamation yet, you know, taking them down or anything?
I'm not aware of any, no.
My concern, Dave, coming on the smaller ones, even like this last one that we just approved here today was like a 3 small area type thing. How expensive is it gonna be to get rid of that crap when time comes? So
Can you get rid of it?
let's say that we get it back as a county.
Can you get it back? Can you, does it recycle or doesn't it?
Where do we
Didn't
dispose?
they
I don't
have
know.
something about
I'm
bonds
asking
on
that.
there, Gary, when they put them up? Didn't they have, they were talking about, attaching bonds to them?
That's on the bigger ones, yeah.
Yeah, that would take care of the waste part of it.
But I don't think we know that cost yet.
So.
No.
Disposal.
In connection with that, as I drive around, maybe not so much in Todd County, but I do see residences that have their own windmills up, or power mills.
Right.
What are we doing? Are we regulating that or no?
I'd have to go back in the ordinance. I haven't seen a wind generating system in my time with Todd County. So I have not looked heavily at that like I have the solar ordinance.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things we need to think about here before we move forward.
A lot
Yep.
of research.
You know,
I
and
wanna jump into this one so fast, so.
sure, and that's another thing for consideration. We have neighboring ordinances to look at. We have examples. If it's something that the board wants, you can bring in a consultant to help develop this ordinance, if that's something we want to do. There's lots of options on the table, and obviously our end goal is to just make sure we have a good ordinance in the end. So, I guess if it's something we want to get on, it would have to go to the February Planning Commission, would be the earliest we could get this on a Planning Commission agenda, or we can circle back around and come to another work session. But I will just go at the direction of the board.
I guess I would prefer a work session. I think we've got a lot of unknowns yet to be discussed.
I would, Madam Chair, I'd do a moratorium first, and then we work on it as we have that moratorium in place, so.
And we, Chris Pelzer and I looked at that, and what the steps are to a moratorium, and part of that would be potentially hiring a consultant to help us develop a new ordinance. So maybe that's something we can come back with a lot more and better information about what that process looks like, and maybe have a quote from a consultant to work with or something, if that's something we'd like to
Well,
see.
I'm gonna make a suggestion here. It might create a little work for Chris's office, but if she could, when we were into this ditch 41 and whatever else, they developed a 3-ring binder for us so we could look at all the information that was coming to us. And in this case, I would like that. Now, maybe your office can do that too, but neighboring counties' ordinances and whatever information we have, and Barb's got this from a committee she went to, maybe if we all had that, instead of 1 or 2, we can all look at it and read it and come up with some kind of sample that we need to.
I'm
so.
thinking my office, and along with Chris's help, can put a big, maybe a 1-inch binder together, get it to everybody on the board, and then you'll be the chair, because this probably won't come back until middle of January at the
Yeah,
earliest.
just
And then
something-
I guess when the board is ready, you can just give me the thumbs up to throw it back on a work session after that.
It's just my suggestion. Now, if you don't want it, that's fine with
That
it.
sounds good. I
That
think we just
sounds
need
good,
to
so that we
compile
all have the
information
same
yet, so.
information in front of us.
All right, yeah, we'll compile more information than you'll want to
Yep.
see. And we'll get everything together and provide that to you guys, and then I'll just wait for a thumbs up to bring it back to a future work session then.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. That's
Okay.
what I had for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Denise?
First item we have is the 2022 board meeting schedule discussion. This is the tentative plan that we have in place now. It tells us the commissioner dates, when we need the board submission deadline, and we send this out to all department heads. The only thing is this year, there was no elections that will conflict the board meetings that we would need to reschedule. The only thing would be when you get into that December again, that December 6th meeting here, that does fall on AMC.
It does fall on AMC again. Okay.
So that might be one to look at for next, the first week in January when we bring this forward, that we look at rescheduling that one. So that's that, and then if I go right in, I'll just keep rolling because they're all
Yep.
on. The 2022 county commissioner committee assignments. Again, I gave you a copy to take home, review, and study before the January meeting. Of course, automatically, the chair and vice chair will roll into their designated spots. There's only one, library committee that Dave is termed out of, he mentioned, and so we would look at needing to appoint somebody for that one. And then if you have any additional committees that would be added to this, we would need to know that prior to this meeting.
And Hazel volunteered.
Yeah, I thought Gary
Yeah, yeah,
volunteered
he
for
did.
that one.
Yeah, you did.
Put him right
Yep,
in
I
there.
heard it. I heard him.
Yeah. I heard it way down here too.
What?
So please study those and see if there are any changes that
We'll see if anybody makes the motion.
Okay. And then the last thing is to kind of just study and review the board protocol. That way, if there's anything we need changed on there or any questions on, please let us know in advance so we can get the research done to give you the information during the board meeting.
Okay, and this will all come in for the 28th, correct?
I thought I talked loud enough. These will all come in that first January board meeting, yes.
Oh, the January, not the 28th.
That's
the
why I'm
January
presenting at
board
the work
meeting.
session today.
Gotcha.
So just, homework is to review the
Yep.
board schedule and come up with a date for that AMC one, and then the committee assignments for discussion, and then board protocol revisions if there's any new proposals you'd like changed or anything in that. But otherwise, that's all I have.
Okay. Very good. I think it's probably one of our longer meetings we've had this year. We will be recessed until we see next Tuesday.